Trust and estate practice is vital to the ongoing civilization. That's a big word to use, but it is vital to the civilization of our U.S. domestic economy and our opportunities in the United States. It's about wealth management, wealth planning, and wealth succession. Think of all the small businesses that are out there and the immigrants who came to this country who have built up those businesses who want that business to transfer to their children and to their children's children and to continue that opportunity of business and also growth. Trust and estate attorneys are integral in making those transitions happen.
This is Associations Thrive, the podcast celebrating successful associations and their leaders. I'm your host, Joanna Pineda, CEO and Chief Troublemaker at Matrix Group International. Listen in as top association executives tell all, revealing the creative and innovative ways they're increasing membership, generating revenue, nurturing engagement, and reimagining their organizations. By the way, if you've launched a new initiative, created new member services, or updated your governance structure and are seeing great results, I want to hear your story, and so do my listeners. I'd love to have you as a guest. Go to podcast.matrixgroup.net and apply to be on Associations Thrive. Now let's dive into this week's show. Today, I'm speaking with Deborah McKinnon, Executive Director of the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel, or ACTEC. Deb, welcome to the show.
It's a delight to be with you and to share with your listeners the journey of ACTEC, Joanna.
Well, tell us about ACTEC.
I'm happy to share that. Our organization is a professional society, the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel. We are a pure elected organization of over 2,400 trust and estate attorneys in the United States and internationally. And what does that mean that we are an organization that's peer elected? It means that there is a membership process that's specific to the college, that not every trust and estate attorney can fill out an application and become a member. The requirements of being a member and peer elected require a current fellow to nominate an attorney for membership, and that attorney must have been practicing for at least 10 years in the field, providing guidance in the community in terms of community service and participation about what a good trust and estate attorney means, as well as writing and publishing. So there are some very high standards by each of the attorneys who are elected to the college. We are a college and a professional society that our emphasis is on ongoing legal education and also the community and the culture of working with one another, Joanna. It's a really rewarding organization to be a part of.
Wow, Deb, this sounds amazing. So if I'm a really successful trust and estate attorney, but I'm not out in the community, I'm not providing community service, I'm not writing papers, I'm making a lot of money and I'm very successful and my clients love me, sounds like I can't be a member.
Joanna, that's maybe correct.
Maybe correct. Okay.
Maybe correct. It doesn't mean that any of the current fellows, and our members are called fellows, of the college would not like to have a conversation with you as you are very successful and give you a pathway to entry and being nominated. Here are the steps. Here's what you're currently doing that you may not be aware of that qualify as publishing, that qualify as speaking, that qualify you to sit for nomination with the recommendation from a current fellow. So don't let it be a negative that you're saying as a professional, it just takes so much time. It sounds like it's a burden. It's not a burden. You just need to talk to a current ACTEC fellow and find out what you're currently doing and how that fits in the nomination process.
Well, and Deb, my staff and I had the opportunity to talk with some of your members, and they are engaged and committed to the ACTEC community, and they are interested and interesting.
Thank you for that.
And it was amazing that they made time for ACTEC. And sometimes we find that members are really busy, they're running their firms, they're busy with their own projects, but the ACTEC fellows that we interviewed made time for ACTEC. That was really interesting.
Yes, and Joanna, I think that speaks to the awareness of the benefits of the partnership that the fellows of the college have with the staff of the college, and staff and fellows working together to accomplish the goals of the college. So our goal was to update our website, working with you, Joanne, and your team at Matrix.
Yes.
The fellows embraced that. They recognized the need for that. They wanted to be an active part of it. And frankly, staff designing any system without fellow input is a failure.
Right.
We need our fellow input to build what works for them. And we specifically engaged our fellows, and your team had the opportunity to have conversation with our fellows regarding the marketing of ACTEC and what does the public side of the website look like. As with many organizations, we have our members only or the private side and the public side. And our fellows were very clear that they wanted the message about ACTEC being the best of the trust and estate attorney world to be presented. And they wanted that message on the public side and to promote the image of ACTEC as being the organization that anyone can turn to get the best guidance, best advice, and best information. So working with you and your team, Joanna, we were able to redesign the public side to address getting the message out to the general public, any mom and pop business trying to plan for wealth succession planning, getting the message out to young attorneys or law school students who are thinking about trusts and estates, and getting the message out to those who are interested in learning more about the field of trust and estate, the profession of trust and estates, even if that may be an accountant who's doing tax guidance or a valuation company who is looking at businesses from a wealth management standpoint.
Well, Deb, we're going to get into the things that ACTEC is doing to thrive, and thriving you are. But before we do that, I want to talk about your journey. So how did you get to become Executive Director of ACTEC?
I was very fortunate, Joanna. I am an attorney by training, and my entire professional career has been here in Washington, D.C., and it had largely been in finance and real estate finance. I had been a director at Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, and then a senior vice president at the Mortgage Bankers Association. And in that arena, commercial and multifamily finance, there was this little incident called 2008 and the financial crisis that occurred 2008 and 2009. Well, the saying of when one door closes, another door opens was very true in my case. My career at the MBA was on its downhill side because there were not that many companies that were members of the MBA any longer. And I began searching and looking for new opportunities. And ACTEC, the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel, were looking for a new executive director. They had been located in Los Angeles for more than 45 years, and they made the decision that now was the time that they wanted to relocate to Washington, D.C. So I was very fortunate to work with the president at the time, Dennis I. Belcher, who was organizing the search for a new executive director and also very interested in ensuring that the future of the college in Washington, D.C. would be sound. And he touched base with me. I had many interviews and moved through the process, and I was offered this wonderful opportunity in November of 2009.
Deb, what was the transition like? Was it very different, or were there some things that you really carried over from your experience at MBA, going from an organization, a behemoth like the mortgage bankers, to an organization like ACTEC?
Joanna, that's a great question. And I will say, for anyone looking for a change or who needs to look for a change, what one should keep in mind is think of the skills, the talents, and where you have been, and look at the new opportunity and what can you contribute. So my experience at the Mortgage Bankers Association was I had a larger staff and a larger budget. I had a board that I reported to that was about the same size as the ACTEC board. So there's similarities and there are differences. But as a good leader, and those of us who have been in leadership positions, be it corporate and then nonprofit, we realize the skills that are transferable, and we move forward with identifying what can we take with us, what works and what doesn't work. With ACTEC, having a board about the same size as the Mortgage Bankers Association, where I came from, was a real plus for me because I understood a 40-plus member board with decision making.
Oh my God, 40 plus.
Yes. And think about it. The MBA, much larger organization, the American College of Trust and Estate Council, much smaller in its membership, but the ACTEC board or the college board is like if you will, the House of Representatives. It has geographic diversity. It has size of practice diversity, and it brings every perspective to the practice of the college. And the college is a cultural entity of sharing education, sharing opportunities, and mentoring. Most importantly, mentoring those young associates who will become ACTEC attorneys in the future. Because as I said initially, not every attorney can become a fellow of the college.
Right.
And we need to continue to have fellows because our organization, the college, is very driven by our revenue streams, as many nonprofits and professional organizations are. We have dues, we have sponsorship dollars, and we have our meetings. So we rely on those young, new attorneys becoming fellows of the college.
Well, let's turn to ACTEC. You've got a lot of meetings that you put on. You've got 3 national meetings. You've got 32 educational meetings at the state level. You have countless webinars, but you have something called the Institutes. You know, when I started working with you all, talked about the importance of the Institutes. So maybe talk to us about them. Why are they so important?
Thanks for asking about the Institutes. They are important, Joanna. And why are they important? This is an idea that was started with our Florida fellows, and a fellow who is very important to the college, Laird Lyle, who had this as his idea, was really the founder of the first institute in Florida, and now we have 7 institutes. They are either by state or by region. What do the institutes do? They provide the training ground, or if you will, in sports terms, a farm team. A farm team for those young attorneys who are in the trust and estate practice, who want to learn more about the practice, want to learn more about ACTEC, and want to learn more about what it takes to be an ACTEC fellow. We're very fortunate that in the 6 years that we've had institutes, we now have 27 graduates of the institutes who are fellows.
Ah.
And that's very important to us because it instills the values of the college and what it means to be an ACTEC fellow amongst firms that are in a variety of geographic areas. And maybe some of those attorneys will never become ACTEC fellows, but they know who ACTEC is. And that advances an important mission or a goal of the college, is letting the practice know who ACTEC is, why the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel has the best of the best, and what the value of having an ACTEC attorney working with you may be.
Well, let me ask you a question about the Institute. So it's really deep and intense educational content and training about the profession. It sounds like it's also a way to attract young associates into the profession. I mean, is this a field that needs more attorneys? Are you trying to get more people interested?
That's terrific that you picked up on that, and thank you for asking that. We absolutely do need in the trust and estate practice to have the young associates who join a variety of law firms who have yet to identify which area in the firm they are interested in. They may join, again, we know so many large law firms in the major cities, and also even in our rural areas, there are individual firms who specialize in a field. But trust and estate practice is vital to the ongoing civilization. That's a big word to use, but it is vital to the civilization of our U.S. domestic economy and our opportunities in the United States. It's about wealth management, wealth planning, and wealth succession. Think of all the small businesses that are out there and the immigrants who came to this country who have built up those businesses, who want that business to transfer to their children and to their children's children, and to continue that opportunity of business and also growth. Trust and estate attorneys are integral in making those transitions happen. And sometimes in the practice areas, it's not as attractive as corporate law or criminal law, but it's very important. So our institutes have our ACTEC fellows doing the teaching and the mentoring. A large portion of the institute opportunity, there are 3 sessions that occur over a period of months, and they are 2-day sessions. It can be 6 months to 8 months, depending on what works best in the variety of jurisdictions. And our fellows participate in the training and the teaching, but also in the social aspect. There are receptions, there are opportunities to meet and greet the ACTEC attorneys, the speakers. Also, the speakers enjoy meeting and being engaged in conversation with the young attorneys who are part of the Institute class.
So, Deb, it sounds like what you're saying to young associates is if you haven't thought about trust and estate, get introduced to it and learn about how vibrant and amazing it is and meet some great people who can mentor you.
Joanna, can I hire you as my marketing director? That's exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what ACTEC is saying. There are great opportunities in the profession, and it is lucrative. It is fulfilling because one is dealing with individuals who have families in mind and also their ongoing businesses in mind. And we all know as we go about our daily lives. We walk down the street, we walk into neighborhood businesses, we walk into neighborhood restaurants. All of these individuals are interested in and looking for good partners for trust and estate planning.
Boy, that's amazing. Deb, you have 3 national meetings, all these state events. You put on videos, you put on podcasts, you put on webinars. How are you doing all this with the staff that you have? Because I think my listeners want to know how you're able to do so much.
Well, you're kind in saying that. We are very mighty and organized, I think is the best phrase I can use. We are not huge in staff. Our meetings department is the largest group for ACTEC. We do build on our strength, which is providing opportunities for the fellows to convene and get together. Our meeting planning is very specific regarding locations and the types of properties that we go to. And it's also very geographic. And we work with the various state and regional chairs that are fellows, and they are critical in getting the message out to the fellows about why come to this particular meeting. I would say the other element that has tremendously assisted our staff are the advances in technology. I mentioned earlier, Joanna, that you and I and the Matrix Group, we've had the opportunity to work on updating and revising our website. We have more and more information posted on our website. We've been very fortunate to have fellows who are interested in sharing through our ACTEC Trust and Estate Talk, which is our podcast series. That was launched in 2018, and it's for our trust and estate professionals. And by the end of 2023, we had over 550 podcast downloads.
Wow.
Google, Apple, Spotify, and we received over 5,100 views on YouTube, totaling over 4,000 hours watched.
Wow.
And we also took on an opportunity of doing a video series. And this series has increased ACTEC's brand with the general public. It is the number one draw to our actec.org website and the webpage redesign that we've recently done with you, Joanna, to provide more information to the public. And our YouTube videos have been watched more than 4,300 hours since we started that effort in 2020. So we're using technology and we're using the opportunities that we've had with vendors such as yourself to build a better platform for delivery of information to all attorneys and the general public who are looking for trust and estate information.
Well, Deb, I'll tell you, it was a real pleasure working with you and your team. And I'll say 2 things for my listeners. One is when we started interviewing the members, if you recall, we started learning some really interesting things. And you actually said, let's really double down on talking with the members to see how those interviews should guide the process. And that turned out to be really critical to the process, and it changed the strategy. So really props to you and your team for saying, let's not just interview the members, let's actually listen deeply to what they have to say and let it influence the strategy. But the other thing that I was really impressed by is really the commitment to education for the public as well as other professionals. So listeners, if you go to actec.org, and I'll have a link in the show notes, there's really amazing stuff about how this is relevant to really everybody, not just the gajillionaires, but everybody, individuals, small business owners, professionals, everyone.
Thank you, Joanna. That's true. It really is.
All true. Deb, before we go, I want to talk about the community of ACTEC. And again, from the interviews, we got the impression that the community of ACTEC is very, very tight. That this is a group of fellows who are proud to be members, very happy to be communing with each other. So how do you cultivate that? How do you nurture that? And then how do you channel that into energy for the association?
Joanna, it is an organization that's made up of professionals And let's talk about, what do you and I and those who are listening today think about community? We search out perhaps a city club, a country club, any organization that we might like to belong to, where we can talk to like-minded people to learn from them on an ongoing basis. It's that ongoing education, that ongoing opportunity. And that's what ACTEC is. I like to say we are like a moving club.
Oh,
We do have venues for our national meetings that go to different cities throughout the US and Canada primarily for our various meetings. And it's not just the fellows or the members of the college. And while I say fellows, over 40% of our members are women, and they are called fellows as well because we are a college. But the spouses, significant others, the partners of our members, our fellows, are as important to the community as
ah,
are the fellows. Our fellows come for education and continued learning, interacting with one another, sharing new information, cutting edge information about what's going on in the practice areas, what's going on with legislation on a state by state basis, as well as nationally on Capitol Hill, or the variety of regulatory initiatives that are occurring, be it in Treasury or in the financial services markets. All of that's important for our fellows, but the fellows circle their families, their partners, the people that are important to them have come to the events and they've gotten to know one another over years. They look forward to connecting and seeing everyone at each meeting as well. Part of our initiative for our fellows, spouses, guests, and partners is to have programming at each of the national meetings that's relevant to having a discussion for them. We do special speaker series. We have a books after breakfast discussion where we may bring in an author from a particular area that we're visiting for our meeting and have that person talk about their book, be it fictional, biographical, or perhaps about any specific issue that's very prevalent in that area, so that our community as a whole can learn more about it. And then the spouses and guests who participate in that, share that with the fellows. And it's just an ongoing bonding affair that occurs over time through attendance at the meetings that keeps everyone coming back to see one another time and time again.
well, I'm thinking about my own membership experience. When I first joined, name whatever association, I went to the first meeting and I didn't know anyone and I didn't know what to do. But with your nomination process, the whole process is really shepherded by members. And we learned through working with you that by the time I get to be a fellow, if I get the chance to be a fellow, I've got a whole cohort of people who have guided me throughout the whole process so that when I attend my first meeting, I have already a community. Amazing.
Exactly, Joanna. And as a new fellow, the other thing we do is we do tag our new fellows with a blue dot. So that means that person on their name tag is a fellow for less than 5 years. Now, I have to say, there are many fellows who move on and they don't want to give up their blue dot.
Oh, usually you don't want to be the new kid on the block.
They want to keep that identity because so many fellows approach them and engage them and say, "Hi, my
Ah,
name is Tom, blah, blah, and I'm happy to meet you. I'm from Mississippi, and I look forward to hearing more about where you're from and what your practice involves." So our fellows, we have a opportunity that has been created within the membership structure to specifically outreach to those new fellows who come to attend meetings so they feel welcome. It is intimidating. We have some of the best names in the practice that are speakers, that are fellows. And it is intimidating to walk into the room and see someone who you've revered or you've heard about in law school or in your practice. And you think, I can't go up and talk to that person. And in ACTEC, you absolutely can go up and talk to that person.
Amazing. So you've created this whole culture of talk to the new member.
Absolutely. It's part of our messaging to our ongoing fellows who attend meetings to reach out and particularly look for that blue dot and extend your hand in fellowship and talk to that person. Make that person feel engaged and learn what that person's interested in, and perhaps direct that person to the substantive committee, the practice committee, of which we have over 20, to help that person get more involved in sharing their experiences and their good knowledge with others. We have practice committees or substantive committees, such as asset management, fiduciary litigation, and financial action task force opportunities, all that affect tax, real estate, planning, and the future of the practice.
Deb, I love this because it sounds like you've created a formula or an approach where you're not just telling members about what you can do for them. You're saying this is the behavior that we want you to adopt in order to create this community and welcome new members. It sounds very intentional.
It is very intentional. It's part of our board's mission, and it is part of what we as a staff and a board strive for within our fellowship of the college, Joanna. It's very intentional. It is a part of the internal mission. Absolutely.
Well, Deb, I can sit and talk to you all day, and I guess I'm going to schedule lunch after this so that we can sit and talk all day. I want to thank you for everything that you've shared with us. Some amazing nuggets. I hope you'll come back in the future and tell us about the next best thing that ACTEC is doing.
I would love to come back and tell you about the next best thing ACTEC is doing. We have opportunities on the horizon. And again, I am thrilled to have talked with you and to have shared the importance of ACTEC, the role our institutes play in educating young leaders, and what we do to inspire young attorneys to be interested in trust and estate practice. Joanna, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to Associations Thrive. We're so glad to have you here. You know, my personal mission and the mission of my company, Matrix Group International, is to help associations and nonprofits increase membership, generate revenue, and thrive in the digital space. I want to hear stories of how your organization is thriving in today's challenging landscape. Please apply to be on my show by going to podcast.matrixgroup.net. By the way, do you need help with a digital initiative? Maybe it's a website redesign, a new membership database, or a hybrid meeting that you're planning. I'd love to connect with you. Please visit the Matrix Group website at matrixgroup.net. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Associations Thrive. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a 5-star rating, post a comment, and share it with your colleagues and friends. Bye!